Good evening. Calling it a pivotal moment for police, Toronto's chief has announced the service is launching several new anti-corruption initiatives.
The move comes after 7 Toronto police officers and 1 retired officer were charged in connection with a corruption probe dubbed Project South. CTV John Woodward was at today's Police Services Board meeting and joins us live with the details. John.
Nathan, today's was the first Police Services Board meeting since those astonishing allegations were made public last month. The chief and the board members hoping to show the public they are serious about these new measures they hope will crack down on corruption.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. And
Councillor Shelley Carroll, the chair of Toronto's Police Services Board, struck a serious tone as she outlined the board's response to concerns of corruption.
Many members of the public are watching on this item. They should be.
The chair speaking well in a courthouse across the GTA. One of the accused, Brian DaCosta, was released to house arrest on $1.5 million bail. DaCosta is accused of taking information from Constable Timothy Barnhart, information used to find the home of a Toronto South Detention Centre manager and try to assassinate him. That's from a blockbuster news conference last month where York Regional Police said there were other shootings too, including by this man, Kajin Doman, who's charged with firing on other addresses tied to a former tow truck kingpin. Other charges against more than 24 people include gun crimes and attempted insurance fraud, as well as accessing computer databases, a father and son charged there. It emerged Wednesday that one accused, Ryan Kribbe, claimed in social media posts to work for Brinks Security. No word from that company today. The chief starting an anti-corruption project to look at supervision and screening officers, how they access public databases and evidence, and substance abuse on the job, as well as a 1TPS project to motivate individual officers to combat corruption.
Oversight in organizational changes only go so far if they aren't paired with a strong professional culture. We have to look at culture too.
Culture, perhaps the target in 12 Division where many officers worked. HQ has sent 4 new staff sergeants there. Ontario's Inspector General of Policing and the Law Enforcement Complaints Agency investigating. The board also creating an audit committee for regular updates on Project South and getting the city's Auditor General to review possible privacy breaches from the leaks, but stopping short of a judicial inquiry.
We don't think that this can wait. The board doesn't and the service doesn't.
Critics skeptical.
They're talking about police making changes within the police service. Well, the one thing we know is the police never make changes within the police service. They just go on and on and on the same old way.
Former Mayor John Sewell insists the police need personnel changes from outside the service.
The price of gas went up overnight and is expected to jump again tonight.
Conflict in the Middle East leading to instability in oil prices, causing pain at the pumps for drivers. CTV's Mike Walker has been talking to drivers all day, and he joins us live with more. Mike.
Well, Michelle, no real surprises for drivers. When they went to fill up today, they were expecting this spike at the pumps as analysts had called for, but there is frustration and concern about just how high prices could climb. Watching the price at the pump tick higher to fill up stings as GTA gas prices surged 6 cents overnight.
Things are already pretty tight when it comes to other expenses like groceries and stuff like that. So adding an extra cost to gas, just adds on top of that.
The average price in Toronto today hovering near $1.44 per liter, even higher for diesel. Joseph commutes downtown and feels helpless.
Can't do anything about it. I just have to do what I got to do, fuel my car.
The increase was expected as the war in the Middle East escalates.
Demand's not changing, but supply is, so price is going up.
Experts say crude prices have surged in response to the war as tanker traffic has halted through the Iran-controlled Strait of Hormuz. About 1/5 of the world's oil is shipped through the narrow waterway.
Strait of Hormuz is dictating where the price of crude is going and where the price of your gas is going. And there's really any real end in sight right now. That's the choke point for the supply of 20% of the world's crude source.
I wish I wouldn't have to pay these prices ever.
The rising price is frustrating for Darren, who says it's now costing $150 to fill up his truck. He has a property management company.
In my line of work, I can't charge anymore. So, that's $20 out of my pocket, and, I'm driving on an excess of 1,000 kilometers a week.
The U.S. president has vowed to have the Navy escort tankers if necessary, but don't expect immediate relief. Experts are forecasting another spike for Thursday. How high gas prices will surge amid the conflict, analysts can't say.
This war is something that isn't anticipated in the history of gasoline pricing, and so hang on to your hat.
Amid that uncertainty, some drivers like Menez are considering other options.
You expect prices to either stay at this level or higher for quite some time. Yeah, I'll probably walk a little more or take the subway a little.
But transit isn't an option for everyone.
Everything's going up, and this will add to the groceries and everything.
Filling up now to get ahead of another spike. So long term, the experts can't predict how high prices will climb, where they will peak, but looking into the immediate future ahead to Thursday, they are predicting prices will increase another 3 cents per liter. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. More news in a moment, but first a look at the forecast. There's a live shot of the city. Great conditions to be outside skating. Hopefully this mild trend will continue for a while, but we do know winter's not over. And there's concern about the air quality. Let's bring in Lindsay Morrison with a look at the current conditions. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Nathan. Yeah, there was a lot to like about today's weather. Sunshine, mild temperatures, but you're right. We have an air quality warning in place right now from Toronto to Brampton and including the city of Hamilton. And this is because of haze. Due in part to the stagnant air mass, but also some melting snow out there. There's been a lot of that happening. It is still 7 degrees this hour at Pearson Airport, and we will remain mild into the early part of the evening. Light winds, that's part of the story as well when it comes to the air quality, pollution levels being elevated. Here's your evening at a glance, and our overnight low is about -4, so that's a little bit chilly tonight. We're starting to see an increase in cloud cover, and we've got some rain in store for tomorrow. Maybe not just rain, but also the possibility of freezing rain. So we're going to take you through a full look at your weather forecast coming up. But for now, Michelle, I'll send it over to you.
One day after former Mayor John Tory announced he would not be running for his old job, the attention turns to who will.
Only one high-profile candidate has declared. The current mayor remains cagey about her plans, and a new poll suggests if it's just the two of them, the contest is close. CTV's Natalie Johnson is live at City Hall tonight with more. Natalie.
Well, Nathan, the numbers change dramatically when this mayoral matchup is polled as a head-to-head race. At this early stage, the two frontrunners are neck and neck in a statistical tie.
Okay, Robert.
The day after John Tory made it official that he would not try to win back the mayor's chair.
You've seen the last of me in elected politics.
The battle for Toronto's top job is a brand new race.
In a single day with a single statement, John Tory has scrambled this mayor's race like a plate of eggs.
Mayor Olivia Chow is widely expected to run again.
Maybe, you took an hour off to think again.
But was still playing coy on that last night.
Right now, I'm working hard to make life affordable.
Councillor Brad Bradford, meanwhile, is now in the pole position as Chow challenger.
It's time to raise the bar. It's time to demand better from City Hall.
New numbers from Abacus data reveal that in a two-way race, Chow and Bradford are head-to-head in a statistical tie. Chow 37%, Bradford 34%.
I think it speaks for a desire for change. People are not satisfied with where Toronto is right now, and yet they know it could be so much better. And that is the vision and the proposition I am going to offer to Torontonians, a better, more effective, competent government that's focused on the basics.
This is a bad day, I think, for Mayor Chow, because she would have much rather had a field that was going to split the anti-incumbent vote. And it's highly likely now that we're going to see two very different options put before the people of Toronto. And that means, I think, her vulnerabilities will become much more clear.
But could more names crowd the ballot?
I would hope not, because that vote will split. And we saw that was what was happening in polling when it was a three-way race. So if the center and the center right really want to have a shot at winning this, there can only really be one candidate, and that candidate is Brad Bradford.
I'm just not convinced that there's a big enough name that could really disrupt this race. And to his credit, Brad Bradford has spent relentless years working hard to till this ground, to set up this candidacy. And I think it's going to be hard now with John Tory's departure to bump him off of that log.
I should just not do this.
The race that Tory turned down, tightening with less than 2 months to go until campaign kickoff.
Mayor Chow did not comment on the new numbers today. The pollster is saying that although Chow is not unbeatable, it would be a mistake to underestimate her, given the power of incumbency and the fact that she will benefit from strong progressive support. But could there be more high-profile names on this ballot? Late today, Michael Ford, the nephew of the Premier, former City Council and former MPP, telling CTV News in a statement that he is considering a mayoral run, writing, "I am giving it some strong and serious consideration. Like many Torontonians, we see that crime, congestion, and skyrocketing property taxes are major issues that are top of mind for residents across our city. This will no doubt be a pivotal election. Public service has always been an integral part of my life, and it is for that reason that I'm giving it some strong consideration." Less than 2 months to go now until the May 1st start to this campaign. Reporting live at City Hall, I'm Natalie Johnson. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Natalie. Also tonight, an Iranian missile heads towards Turkey, downed by NATO, intercepted, as explosions echo in Iran amid a new wave of strikes. One person was seriously injured in an overnight stabbing near Sherburne and Wellesley. Emergency crews were called to an apartment building in the area around 12:30 in the morning. A man was rushed to a trauma center with serious injuries. Police say the stabbing happened inside the building, and so far there are no details on possible suspects.
In Scarborough, a man in his 30s suffered serious but non-life-threatening injuries after he was hit by a vehicle. Emergency crews were called to the area of Pharmacy and Comstock Road around 12:15 a.m. The driver involved remained at the scene, and the circumstances of this crash are under investigation. Peel Police, meantime, are sharing details on an arrest that followed a traffic stop in Brampton last week. Officers pulled over a speeding vehicle near Kennedy and Clarence Road on Friday. They allege they found this loaded handgun and ammunition when they searched the car. 18-year-old Malachi King Favors faces 7 charges, including unauthorized possession of a firearm.
In York Region, police have charged an East Gwillimbury Coptic church priest in a historic sexual assault of a minor. 47-year-old Michelle Shafiq, who also goes by the name Michael, is facing sexual assault and sexual interference charges. Police say the investigation began in November when a victim came forward claiming they'd been assaulted by Shafiq twice between 1996 and 1999. The victim was under the age of 16 at the time.
We are highlighting the fact that he is now a priest as he's become a person that's in a position of authority. But at the time of these sexual assaults, he was not a priest. Again, we're talking more than 25 years ago now at this point. But it is something that we want to make sure the public is aware of and that the Coptic community is aware of, as we are concerned that there may be additional victims.
Anybody with any information is asked to contact police.
The Crown has rested its case in the sexual assault trial of billionaire Frank Stronach.
I felt great.
Yep. The 93-year-old was asked there how he was feeling about his trial leaving court today. He is now facing 11 charges. The Crown is seeking to withdraw one of the counts of sexual assault. Cross-examination of the final complainant wrapped up today, and then the Crown called an additional witness, a friend of that complainant. She testified she had been told about the alleged rape in June of 2024 and that she drove the complainant to the police station a couple of months later to give her statement. The defense will now have its turn to call witnesses as the trial continues. Still ahead, dealing with Donald Trump. Prime Minister Carney pulls back the curtain on dealings with world leaders during his 2-day trip to Australia. Iranian cities are facing steady bombardment from the U.S. and Israel as the ruling Islamist regime and its proxies fire back at targets across the Middle East.
One Iranian strike was intercepted as it approached NATO member Turkey. CTV's Adrian Gobriel has the latest from Istanbul.
Pulled from the waters along the southern coast of Turkey, this is the remains of a NATO interceptor missile that knocked an Iranian attack out of the sky. Turkey's President Tayyip Erdogan saying his country is in close consultation with NATO allies while warning Iran a similar incident cannot occur again. In Iran, thunderous explosions echoed across the besieged nation as Israeli forces confirm they've begun a 10th wave of strikes, with U.S. forces hitting deeper into the country. In the 5 days since this war broke out, more than 1,000 people have been killed in Iran, according to a U.S.-based human rights organization. In Lebanon, smoldering debris sent smoke billowing into the sky in Beirut, where the IDF has vowed to uproot Iranian-backed Hezbollah after it launched strikes into Israel.
The numbers are increasing. We have more than 80,000 people, including 24,000 children, forcibly displaced in Lebanon. Many were still displaced since the previous escalation.
This video shared by the U.S. Department of Defense showing the moment a U.S. submarine sank an Iranian warship. The bodies of some 80 sailors reported dead at sea, located by rescuers along the southern coast of Sri Lanka. With 3 other NATO nations, Greece, Britain, and France, sending naval and Air Force personnel to Cyprus following Iranian drone attacks there, this expanding conflict has reached new shores. More than 100,000 Canadian citizens and permanent residents in the Middle East have registered with Global Affairs Canada. CTV News visited the Canadian consulate in Istanbul to try and ask questions on behalf of Canadians stuck in the midst of this conflict. Passport in hand, security inside this building refused to allow us to enter the consulate. A request to interview Canada's ambassador to Turkey was also denied.
This is Adrian Gober with CTV National News.
One official speaking on background tells CTV News that a range of options are being looked at to help evacuate Canadians by land and air, while assisting those in Iran remains the most difficult, without an embassy inside that country. With war on the horizon, a sunset call to prayer preaches peace in a region and a world where tonight it's in very short supply.
The attempted missile strike here in Turkey makes this the 11th country targeted by Iran since this war began. Adrian Gobrel, CTV News, Istanbul.
Meanwhile, the U.S. Department of War says strikes on Iran are still in the early days. This comes amid signs the conflict is causing political turbulence for the Trump administration. CTV's Joy Malbin has more from Washington.
With the sinking of an Iranian naval ship in the Indian Ocean, the U.S. military says it has hit more than 20 Iranian ships and 2,000 targets. The Secretary of War couldn't help but boast.
The Iranian Navy rests at the bottom of the Persian Gulf. Combat ineffective, decimated, destroyed, defeated, pick your adjective. They are toast, and they know it.
Pete Hegseth declared America is winning, and Iran can't outlast the U.S. With more warplanes arriving in the region, the Pentagon claims it will completely control Iranian airspace soon, warning of an even bigger wave of attacks to come.
We will now begin to expand inland, striking progressively deeper into Iranian territory and creating additional freedom of maneuver for U.S. forces.
The conflict was supposed to last just a few days, but President Donald Trump says it could be a month or longer. The White House insists this isn't about regime change, so why attack now?
47 years they've been killing our people and killing people from all over the world, and I think we have great support, and I think if we didn't do it first, they would have done it to Israel and give us a shot if that was possible.
With the war widening, involving multiple countries now, it's not quite a MAGA mutiny, but some key Trump supporters are raising some serious questions.
It's pretty clear that we're not going to gain anything more. And how do we know that? Because no one has explained what we're there to gain.
Meantime, both the House and Senate will hold votes this week. Some lawmakers want to limit President Trump's war powers, but it's not expected to go anywhere. Joy Malbin, CTV News, Washington.
Prime Minister Mark Carney has landed in the Australian capital of Canberra, where he's set to address the country's parliament in the coming hours.
The PM started off his visit down under with a candid conversation about his exchanges with fellow world leaders. CTV's Abigail Beeman has more.
You don't want to say anything in public that you can't back up.
At a fireside chat at a top Australian think tank, Prime Minister Mark Carney pulled back the curtain on dealing with world leaders, starting with Donald Trump.
It's quite different in private. It's much more. He is more interested in your viewpoint on various things.
While he said Chinese President Xi Jinping spent 10 minutes in his first meeting discussing how he wanted personal interactions to go.
I interpret it, don't lecture me in public, bring issues to me directly.
And when he said central bankers have more fun than prime ministers, illustrated by a story about mixing a time-crunched decision with top European wines, Carney used the F word.
You know, tick, tick, tick. And he's like, well, have this one, but, you know, the Pinot Grigio. And I'm like, and then he finishes it and he says, okay. Listen, we have an hour.
Earlier in the day, Carney held a series of meetings and announced a deal to further investments by pension funds in both Australia and Canada. Australia has had trouble entering Canada's market.
I think we've struggled to find the opportunities, and this dialogue is in part about unlocking those opportunities. So as they look to private capital, we really want to be at the front of the queue.
It's no longer what or why, it's how. And that's what the Prime Minister is fixing here, is the how to make sure that they can invest more in Canada. This is good.
And that's music to the ears of this recently retired Canadian couple on holiday in Australia.
So I would love to see more diversification with equal-minded, similar-minded folks like the Australians. That's just a no-brainer.
Canada's Prime Minister will next address Australia's Parliament and meet with their cabinet and Prime Minister. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Sydney.
At Queen's Park, the Ford government has announced a review of EQAO testing. The province is creating an advisory body to look into the standardized testing and how Ontario can improve outcomes for students. EQAO results released in December showed half of grade 6 students and 42% of grade 9 students were not meeting the provincial standard in math. The Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation says it's concerned teachers and education workers aren't meaningfully involved in the testing review. Ontario Education Minister Paul Calandra released a statement that reads in part, student achievement must always come first in Ontario's education system. Our government will continue using every tool available to keep Ontario's education system focused on accountability and a back-to-basics approach to student achievement so that students can reach their full potential and be prepared for good-paying, rewarding careers.
And sticking with education, a large crowd gathered at the Ontario Legislature today, protesting the government's plans to make changes to OSAP.
CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris was there and has this report.
Hundreds of people jammed onto the lawn of the Ontario Legislature, angry and worried about changes the Ford government is making to OSAP.
I don't think he understands that we need this money to be able to continue our education.
Students streamed in from campuses near and far.
There's a group of us here from Chunk University. We got on a bus today and we're all here today from Peterborough. You know, we're here for this.
The government's reducing the number of grants available through OSAP, putting a greater emphasis on loans that need to be paid back.
If these don't get reversed, I'm going to have to start off my education, my career in adulthood, and thousands of dollars of debt.
A lot more debt, a lot less ability to take classes. Everything costs money.
It puts those studying for in-demand jobs like early childhood education in limbo.
I want to go back. I hope I can.
It is a big decision, and it will affect my entire future.
The Minister of Colleges and Universities says the changes are meant to rebalance a system that's become unsustainable. Students will still be able to get help with OSAP.
They're just going to make a little bit of a bigger investment into their future career earnings, but that will pay off tenfold once they graduate and go into their career choices.
It's the scale of that change that's unsettled students.
If he wants to make people not riot, he can, at the very least, make it a gradual change, but even that's not enough.
Hours later, some demonstrators clashed with police just outside Queen's Park. This student got caught up in it.
I turned back around, I'm looking at this guy, and he shoves me out of nowhere. He breaks my headphones here, rips me right through to my jacket.
Toronto police say they arrested 2 people. A statue of George Brown was also defaced with spray paint and markers. Opposition leaders say the turnout here today shows just how deep the worry around OSAP has become. They're planning to make their own noise when the legislature resumes in a few weeks.
Well, we're going to ask them to reverse the cuts on OSAP. We may go further than that. We're working on something right now.
The thing I know about Doug Ford is he tends to see the light when he feels the heat.
Heat students are promising to keep turning up. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
After yesterday morning's blood moon, there was a second celestial surprise for residents in the Vancouver area in the evening. People in the BC Lower Mainland posted a number of videos showing a sonic boom accompanied by a bright flash. Experts with the American Meteor Society say by all indications, this was likely a fireball meteor burning up in the atmosphere.
Coming up, they're at risk and vulnerable. Ontarians living with intellectual and developmental disabilities, finding themselves homeless. The calls to better support a segment of society falling through the cracks.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, there may be contractors going door to door offering services in your neighborhood, but be careful. 2 men told a woman her roof was in such terrible shape her home could collapse. She gave them almost $50,000. That story is just ahead.
Well, rain can be concerning at this time of year, especially when you combine it with melting snow and mild temperatures. The ground is still quite frozen in many areas, so that leads to rivers and streams running high and fast, and in some cases it can lead to a bit of spring flooding. Tomorrow at a glance, +1 is the forecast daytime high. That is mild enough for rain. It's also cool enough for us to get some freezing rain, and that looks likely at this point. We'll take you through the forecast after the break.
In the spring, summer, and fall, you may have contractors going door to door in your neighborhood, pitching their services, looking for work.
That was also happening this winter, and there's a concern some are exaggerating repairs that may not be required at all. Here's Pat Foran with a Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Michelle and Nathan. 2 men were going door to door in Etobicoke offering to clean out eaves troughs for a low price. But once they got on a woman's roof, she was told the roof was in horrible condition and needed to be replaced right away.
I can't believe that it happened. It's almost like a nightmare.
Colleen McMichael of Etobicoke says it was a day in late January when she heard someone knocking.
2 gentlemen came to my door and said that they were in the neighborhood and they were taking ice and snow out of all of the eaves troughs.
McMichael agreed and they went on top of her home to take a look. The 2 men went up on the roof and they were there less than 10 minutes. They came down and told McMichael her roof was in horrible condition and needed to be dealt with right away.
And that there was actually a hole in the roof and that there was an animal in the roof.
She was told there was mold, rotting wood, and it needed to be a rush job to keep her safe.
They were really pushing me and, yes, frightening me into thinking that something devastating would happen to the roof and to my house if I didn't take care of it.
McMichael says at the time her mother was ill and her dog had recently died. She feels she was vulnerable when they told her to pay more than $47,000 in advance, which she did. She says they also tried to convince her to pay thousands more to replace her eaves troughs.
No, I haven't got the money.
McMichael signed a contract with Skycrest Roofing Experts. When we called the company, they said there was a bad connection and hung up. Hello?
Sorry, I can't really hear you at the moment. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Other calls and emails we sent to Skycrest Roofing were not returned. The company did work on the roof, but another roofer hired by McMichael told her nails and insulation were missing and some shingles were cracked and broken and the roof needed repairs. McMichael regrets handing over almost $50,000.
I've been taken for a ride and it's really impacted me.
And you should be cautious of any contractor going door to door looking for work. For most jobs, you should seek out the company, check their references and reviews, and don't pay in advance for work you can pay when it's done. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, what a day out there weather-wise with the sunshine, the mild temperatures, the big coats, didn't need them. But it is interesting that, there's some air quality issues.
Yeah, you kind of won't expect it on a day like today, but apparently there are some concerns.
Yeah, there was so much good about today. It was mild, it was sunny. We made it to 7 degrees at Pearson Airport. But it's true, and now we're being encouraged to maybe spend less time outside because of this stagnant air mass, elevated air pollution levels. It is an air quality warning in place for Toronto, Brampton, and Hamilton, but this is expected to come to an end later tonight and certainly by tomorrow morning. Here's the other thing we're concerned about, and that is melting snow combined with rain. Thanks to these warm temperatures, you want to make sure that your storm drains are nice and clear, because if you haven't already noticed, the big melt is underway. And again, there are some concerns about some localized flooding with this. Waterways in and around the Toronto Region Conservation Area are going to be running high and fast forecast, and that is certainly the case for areas north of the GTA where there's a whole lot of snow still on the ground. So just be mindful of this. We're now seeing an increase in cloud cover in addition to that haze from the elevated air pollution levels. And we've got a few rounds of active weather moving into southern portions of Ontario. There's tomorrow's system. We've got another that's going to bring us wet weather Friday overnight and through the day on Saturday. This one's also going to bring another round of very mild air our way. More on that system in a moment. Let's talk about tomorrow. Waking up to some wet weather along the north shoreline of Lake Erie in through Niagara. It looks like some afternoon drizzle or freezing drizzle for us here locally in the GTA. By the dinner hour, we are getting into what looks to be some freezing rain for the most part. This is going to taper off as we make our way toward the midnight hour. It's not a lot of rain. It's not a lot of ice. But let me show you what we could be in for as far as accumulations are concerned. Heavier rain for southwest Ontario, maybe some thunderstorms as well. Roughly 5 millimeters around the city of Toronto, and then any ice accretion at this point. Looks like the hardest hit areas could be London, Hamilton, and Niagara Falls. We're still at 6 degrees this hour at Pearson Airport. Big winner today, Lagoon City. That's near Lake Simcoe. 11.3 degrees today. Very nice. It's been a while since we've had double-digit highs in that part of the province. -4 is our forecast overnight low tonight in the city of Toronto. And then tomorrow's highs cooler than today. In fact, many GTA communities are going to hover close to freezing. And that is why we could see some freezing rain mixed with rain, a bit of drizzle in there too. 6 degrees on Friday, 15 on Saturday. Sunday still a decent day. And then look at next week. Teen temperatures again, but guess what? Bit of a cool down after that. That's the weather for now. Michelle, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Also tonight, the Iranian-Canadian professor that turned his pain into cinema. The story behind the film Canada submitted for Oscar consideration in the Best International Film category.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400. From your screen to ours. Text 10400.
There are growing calls tonight to increase supports for Ontarians with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
It comes as some say cracks in the system are leading them to live on the streets. CTV's Rahim Ladani has the story.
People don't hear our voices. They think because we have disabilities that we don't have a voice. We feel forgotten. I feel forgotten a lot sometimes.
Forgotten and falling through the cracks. Amber Taylor and others living with intellectual disabilities say a system meant to protect them is failing.
For close to 18 months, I didn't have a home. I went from a college dorm to someone's sofa, to a bed and breakfast, then back to someone's sofa. But other people in my situation aren't so fortunate.
This is a homeless encampment in Sudbury. People living in tents, others lined up waiting for a space in a warming shelter. Advocates say 53,000 people with intellectual and developmental disabilities are waitlisted for safe housing and other critical supports. While they wait, some are being exploited into crime.
Manipulated into criminal activity, being coerced into exchanging sexual favors for shelter, being targeted because of their intellectual disabilities.
Chris Beasley says chronic underfunding by successive governments have widened the gap.
The budget's coming out at the end of March. Have there been commitments for money earmarked for this issue?
At this time, no. We've certainly been, as you say, working with, having meetings with, putting our case forward, but at this point, we haven't heard anything.
The Minister of Children, Community and Social Services tells CTV News our government is making record investments, including a historic $3.7 billion in developmental services this year, with more than $2.4 billion in funding dedicated to supportive living and other wraparound supports to ensure adults with developmental disabilities have the support they need. Adding, we have also increased Ontario Disability Support Program rates by 20% since September 2022, with future increases tied to inflation. Community leaders say they're not interested in playing a blame game with the government, but more needs to be done, with 1 in 5 shelter users in the GTA living with a developmental disability. Rahim Ladani, CTV News.
Ontario's measles outbreak was officially declared over in October, but local public health officials are warning about possible exposures linked to travel. Toronto Public Health issued an alert today saying a confirmed case had been on a February 22nd Avianca flight from San Salvador to Toronto Pearson. They were then present in the Terminal 1 arrivals area for around 2.5 hours, potentially giving the highly contagious virus a chance to spread. And this follows a warning from York Region public health officials saying someone who caught measles outside the country was at the Cordelucci Vaughan Hospital emergency department for several hours Saturday. Both York and Toronto Public Health advise anyone who may have been exposed to check their vaccination status and to contact a health provider if they develop symptoms.
As Hollywood counts down to the Oscars, Barbra Streisand is reportedly in talks to perform during the in memoriam portion of the ceremony. Variety reports the plan is to have Streisand perform as a tribute to Robert Redford. They starred together in 1973's The Way We Were, and Redford passed away in September at age 89. The report says it's not certain if Streisand will perform alone or perhaps with other artists. Now, Canada's Academy Award submission for Best International Film is by an Iranian-Canadian professor at Toronto Metropolitan University.
CTV's Andrea Case recently sat down with the writer and director of The Things You Kill.
Iranian-Canadian filmmaker and professor at TMU, Ali Reza Khatami, has a lot on his mind these days as the war in Iran expands. The writer and director of the award-winning film, The Things You Kill, can't help but think of his family back home.
I haven't had news for 5 days. I'm glued to phone. It's end of an era for the world. The international law has completely collapsed.
In the film, we see a family which collapses.
I was struggling with my own family history. You know, me and my father never got along. I was a young man and always butt-heading, you know. And I was adopting a book for a script, you know. And as I was writing, I realized that I'm not really adopting the book anymore. Slowly, I realized this is becoming a self-negotiation with my own demons and with my own pain.
He kept writing but didn't think he would share it.
And I asked a friend to read. He's not in cinema. He called me 1 a.m. in the morning crying. And that was the moment that I told myself, okay, maybe the pain is resonating with other people and I have to put the film out.
That was 8 years ago. Last year, The Things You Kill hit the festival circuit. It made the top 10 list at TIFF last year and was submitted as Canada's 2026 Oscar entry for Best International Feature Film.
Oscar has become a popularity contest. How much it has become like pretty much like an election in the US. Whoever has the most money to run this, of course your film has to have certain quality, like the storytelling must be very classic, must be very, you know, closer to the American taste. But the opportunity that my fellow filmmakers in the industry granted us was an opportunity to learn, to know how this side of the market works. And there was no other way for us to learn this. On this independent film.
And while his film did not receive an Academy Award nomination, he's honored to have the opportunity to represent this country.
It was wonderful to see Canadian film industry growing so much, to see films that are outside English language, that are outside French language and the native language. And it was a clear signal to brown filmmakers, non-white filmmakers, to say, we want your stories.
The Things You Kill opens on March 20th at TIFF Lightbox. Andrea Case, CTV News.
After the break, it's a big one, and it was sold right here in Toronto. Someone has a $75 million Lotto Max jackpot winning ticket. Tariffs on goods headed to the U.S. could go up again this week. BNN Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez has more.
The U.S. Treasury Secretary says a 15% tariff rate on imports will likely take effect this week. In late February, the U.S. Supreme Court deemed Donald Trump did not have the authority to impose a wide range of tariffs under an emergency act. As soon as it happened, the U.S. president introduced a 10% markup under different law. Later, he announced it would go up to 15%. Goods covered under the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade agreement are exempt from the tariff. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down a fraction to 73.30. West Texas Intermediate didn't change much. It's at 74.66. Western Canadian Select up another $3 to $60.74. And the TSX gained 157 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
A new study shows half of Canadian small businesses no longer view the United States as a reliable trading partner. That finding was one of several shared by the Canadian Federation of Independent Business from a survey of its members. It also found tariffs have had an uneven impact, with 37% of owners saying 2025 was a good year and 35% saying it was a poor one. CFIB President Dan Kelly said small businesses have a lot riding on the coming review of the CUSMA trade agreement.
It looks like many Canadians who were thinking of traveling to Mexico are reconsidering those plans after recent cartel violence. Leger spoke with more than 1,600 people. 31% of those who were eyeing Mexico said they're now looking at alternative destinations. A further 7% said they're looking at canceling their trips without rebooking. One Toronto resident woke up $75 million richer today as the winning ticket for last night's Lotto Max jackpot was sold in the city. A single winning ticket for the grand prize was sold somewhere in Toronto. 2 Max Million prizes, each worth $1 million, were also won in last night's draw. One ticket was sold online while the other was sold in Toronto.
Just ahead, a tight-knit group crafting items for those in need while stitching together a sense of purpose.
Finally tonight, a North York senior has turned a hobby into a way to help others.
CTV's Beth McDonnell introduces us to Edna Hawkins.
Oh, they're important. The twiddle muffs are important to us.
It's another Wednesday afternoon at the North York YMCA. And 94-year-old Edna Hawkins has gathered round like she does every week for a 2-hour session with the knitting club she started 24 years ago.
I don't ask ages, but you know how old the oldest one is.
She's quick to point out it's not a class, it's a club for those who know the craft.
As you can see, they do their knitting too, so I don't have to go around and say, we need this, we need that. No, I don't have to say anything to them. They know what they do, what they do.
Every year, the group knits around 1,100 items, from hats and scarves, donating to Out of the Cold and Food Not Bombs, to twiddle muffs, sensory hand wraps for veterans at Sunnybrook, and for many years, a blanket for the New Year's baby at North York Hospital.
When we get a little thank you from somebody, it's nice, but it's not necessary. We do it because we enjoy doing it.
Hawkins says after she lost her husband and retired, she was a little down. That's when she cast on the idea of the club.
For me, it's been a lifesaver. I have to admit that. It's kept me going. And, you know, and I'm lucky that I've got these people behind, my friends behind me.
After an hour of knitting, there's a stretch break. The club is as productive as it is fulfilling and fun.
Definitely have a lot of fun and joke, and we have coffee and cookies and things like that. I would like to try my best to help the people, to those in need.
Plus the result of what we do. It makes us very happy.
Yeah. See, this is how we get things done.
Members are impressed and thankful Hawkins has kept the club going. Even during COVID, they never stopped, moving to a park. Hawkins says it's these Wednesdays she looks forward to most every week. It's helping her stay healthy and sharp.
Knitting is good for our brain. You know, the reason for that I think, is because when I'm knitting, I'm working both sides, right? Keep your brain active, and it will take care of your body.
Hawkins never imagined the club would run for so long.
No. If somebody had told me, I'd say, where did you get that story from? You know, no.
She says she'd recommend knitting to anybody. Her advice, don't feel bad for yourself. There's always something you can do. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
And they do it so well.
I love that, Edna. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Okay, so the big melt is underway, and I think the rain is going to get in the mix tomorrow.
Yeah, so that could cause a couple of complications, but tonight even we are seeing these elevated air pollution levels. So here's one more look at the air quality warning that's in place for parts of the GTA, including downtown and the West End. Waking up tomorrow morning, maybe a little bit of sun to start things off, but that doesn't last too long. By the afternoon, we are into the clouds, we're into some drizzle, and then eventually some rain or even some freezing rain. So that's how that looks for tomorrow evening. Here's one more look at what you can expect over the next 7 days. Mild next week, but colder air is going to return in the long range. Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Lindsay. That's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zarada Alman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
Meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.
Thank you all.